Then we will continue with Juho Konkkola, an origami artist who will share his experience working as an artist in the digital world and show his insights on using social media as a tool to get the work seen.
This is my presentation, Artist in the Digital World using social media in their work. And when I was doing this presentation, the first big topic was the branding, of course, because it was very prominent in my work in my social media. So I decided I would bring it up as one big topic for this presentation. And then I will go through how I reach my audiences in social media. And then I will be showing a little bit of my work behind the scenes and showing my social medias to you. And then at the end, we can ask some questions about using them. And I'll start introducing myself. So I am Juho Konkkola, and I'm an origami artist from Finland, Jyväskylä, and I graduated from University of Applied Sciences from Tornio in 2020. And after that, I have been doing mostly origami art. And since then, I have been exhibiting in more than 20 exhibitions around the world in UK, New York, Finland, and Sweden, and in Venice too. And next I will be having exhibitions also in Holland, Spain, and Taiwan. So there's a lot of international work going on, and social media is one of the very important tools to make that kind of work possible. And here are some of my artworks. I'll be showing these briefly. So this is the origami art I make, and these are folded from one square sheet of paper just by folding and without any cuts or gluing or anything. And so this will be coming later when I will be talking about branding, but why this technique is important. Here is more recent works, and you can see the stark change in the visuals of the artworks, turning black from the white color. And so the branding is a very important part of making your social medias work and reaching your audiences. And for me, it's one of the biggest questions: how do I make myself distinguishable from the sea of other artists in the world? So there are a lot of them, and of course you have to be unique enough so people can recognize you. And when they recognize you, it's easier to stand out from there. And that's one of the biggest problems for many artists, is to become something like that. That's makes it very challenging to stand out in the beginning of your art career. So it's very important to, in the beginning, start to think about how do you make yourself different from others. And here is a screenshot from my Instagram, and the style is very black and white. It's mostly same color scheme across all of the social medias, and it's trying to encapsulate the artistic identity in one simple premise, which is folding figures from a square sheet of paper. So I will be mostly using white or now black paper to really push out the idea of that I'm just folding paper and not using other materials like clay or something else. And it's very important to keep the things very easy to understand. It's very easy to see me as a person who folds paper, and that's usually the thing when people learn about me. That's one of the first things that they remember me of. And finding something simple like that, making your entire identity into one sentence, is quite difficult, and it might take some time for you to develop. But for me, it was quite quick when I started to when my origami started to become very popular, and from there it was I didn't have to change it a lot throughout the years. But before that, I had to do art for many years before I figure out what was the important part of my artworks. And here is my YouTube, and you can see the same color scheme repeats here. And even this presentation uses the very similar style, black and white. And it makes easier your people to follow your art, because they know they are looking at your art and not somebody else's, because you have very distinguishable branding and something that stands out from the crowd. And there is actually one story from my Reddit, or actually many, but some people tag me to random posts on Reddit because some other artists post similar looking artworks than I do. And then they have been asking whether they have stolen the artworks from me because they remember me from the art style. And then when someone else tries to do the similar art style, then people start asking whether they're mine. So it's always gives me a little bit of extra advertisement for me, even though I am not even making the art. So it's very important to have a very recognizable style that people will understand easily. And photography is the groundwork for making the style. So if you photograph everything in one style, then it's very easy to incorporate into all of the social medias. And this is my web page. So when I just use the photos, the style will be very similar. It's very important to keep the photography very consistent and high quality, because that's the foundation you will be building on your branding and everything else in the art. And this also applies to posters in art exhibitions. This wasn't even made by me, but because the photography is very similar style, so even the poster follows the same visual theme, even though it wasn't even made by me. So this is how you can a little bit guide the people who you cannot control, but when you give them the certain kind of materials, they will be making certain kind of content for it then. So it's one thing to try to keep everything very concise for your art. And when even the posters of the art exhibitions are very similar style, it's very easy to people recognize, oh, this is the same artist we have seen before. So it also always helps the people to understand it more and follow it better. And then we go to the second big topic, which is reaching the audience. And it's a very complex topic, and it's not very easy to get through, especially as a beginner artist, when you don't, when you may not have a very concise style or very strong identity as your artist. So the first, as someone already asked it in the last presentation, what is the social media to use? And there are a lot of them, and you have to, as an artist, find your own channels to find your audiences. And I have my own, what I've been using, but it's not necessarily the best solution for your art. And there are many social medias: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Reddit, Quora. Quora is a new one. I haven't looked at it too much, but it's basically made for artists who want to get away from Instagram and their artificial intelligence stuff and everything like that. So that's one place more that has popped up recently where you can go show your art. But one of the problems with new platforms like that is that you might not find your right audience from there. So it can be mostly artists when it's when the entire social media is made for artists. So there may not be people who want to buy your artworks or who want to go to your exhibitions. So it can be a little bit challenging, but you can find certain kind of audiences from different kind of social medias. And the website is one of the most important things you will need as a professional artist. It's a lot easier to find the right people for the art projects, exhibitions, and everything through your website. So I recommend you to have one. And usually from social medias, I don't get nearly as much requests and collaborations than I get from a website. So for me, it's one of the most important parts in my social medias and internet presence. And then there are, of course, other social medias and art communities like Discord. And I also use Discord for my art, but that's mostly just to keep up with other origami artists and what is going on in the origami art field. So you might be able to find your own art communities on Discord too, but it will be mainly just other artists. So again, you might not find the correct audience for that. And the choosing what social medias you want to use, it's a difficult topic. I think the best way is to try them and see if it works out, and if it doesn't, you might then drop them out. For example, I use Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, and website mostly as my lens for my art. But I think I also used a little bit of Twitter, but quite quickly I didn't get much out of it, and I didn't really want to pay any attention to that and focus on more on making the content on the other social medias. And one thing also from the social medias is that you have to make a different kind of content for different kind of social medias. So TikTok is mostly videos, and Reddit is text and images, and Facebook can be both, and YouTube is also videos but in a longer format, and you have to make a specific kind of content for each of one of those. So you cannot, you can use all of them, but it's very laborious to use all of them. So you have to balance between what you want to focus on when choosing between the social medias. And one thing what I have noticed in using social medias for a few years now is that the short form video content is the most prevalent thing at the moment. So if you want to find a lot of audience, I think the best way to do it now is through video content. And TikTok is one of the biggest platforms for that. And even Instagram has changed their algorithms to push out more video content and really push the photos back into the ground in there, or in terms of engagement. And there are many different ways of reaching the audiences, and I have a few ways, and they might not be the usual ones you might want to use. So this also depends a lot between artists, how you want to engage with the communities and your audience. And the natural growth of the channels is you just post images, engage with the audience, and then grow as a channel. But I find this is very inefficient way of growing your art audience in social medias, because it's a lot slower than the other kinds of ways of engaging with the people. And the viral posts and algorithms, using social media algorithms, is a lot faster way to find your audience, because they will get a lot more likes and engagement, and through that you will gain a lot more followers. For example, I have gained half of my followers from just one Instagram post. So yeah, it can be a very important way to gain your audience. And then also news publicity is very similar to viral posts. And when you make something that is very newsworthy, then it will be, of course, shared around a lot around the news, especially if you get into many different news outlets. And then they will all be advertising your art there, and it will be a huge boost for your engagement. And then, of course, exhibitions and communities are a thing, but those are also slower ways of finding your audience. For example, exhibitions is very difficult because if you have some decently good exhibition, for example, in Finland, that has like 16,000 visitors, and only a small fraction of those people will look at your social media if you do it the traditional ways. And that will not be getting you a lot of more followers. So it's very important to keep in mind when you are going to art exhibitions, because some of them might advertise it that they boost your engagement, but they really do not that much. But if you get into other exhibitions that have hundreds of thousands of visitors, and those are very difficult to come by as you are a beginner artist, but those can give you a nice boost in your social medias. So I recommend see what the previous exhibitions have been from that exhibition or the museum or the organization, and see if they have a lot of visitors, then there is a chance there's more people will come to your social medias and your other platforms. But don't use that as the only way to decide whether you should go to one exhibitions or not, because there are a lot of more other variables to it. But yeah, and then there are like other projects and activities. For example, for me, this seminar is one thing that might bring people to my social medias, but it's not a really effective way to do it either, because the numbers in tens of people or something like that, contrary to the tens of thousands of people you can reach with the viral posts and algorithms. And then also cross-posting and content linking is quite important. So when you make posts in one social media, then it's very important to link the content to other content you have on other platforms. For example, if you post on Instagram and you post a photo of it, then you can do a time lapse of how you make the artwork on YouTube, and then you can link them together. So people will go to see the time lapse when they are interested in the artwork and see that it is something interesting. Then there are some challenges, at least in my experience, when I've been doing social media for my art. And the top three points in this are very similar to each other. So it's always a balance between creating content, posting the content, and creating the art itself. So my artworks take hundreds of hours to make a single piece of art. And it gets very laborious to make a time-lapse video of it, because you then have to film hundreds of hours of video content for it. And it gets laborious job, basically. And that is one of the biggest challenges for me at the moment in the social media platforms, because the video content is the thing that really reaches the people, but I cannot really make the video content because my art takes so long time to make. So I have to balance between that and the quality of my work. And that is something I'm trying to do differently for my next artworks, but we will see how will that work out. Make more video content, but with a less effort than making a time lapse, because there are a lot of effort to make. And then there is the big elephant in the room in today's art world, which is the artificial intelligence. And posting your art in the Instagram or something else, they will be scraped for the artificial intelligence to make the content for them, to make the make the machine learning. And that is one of the big considerations why people have switched to other social media platforms like Karma. So they have more protections against the artificial intelligence companies scraping the content from these platforms. And one big problem is the reaching the audience, which was one of the first questions of this presentation. And that is not so much a problem for me, because I have found my ways to success in its own ways. But for many beginner artists, that will be one of the bigger challenges. And then going beyond social media, so there is something new to experiment on. And I have this one story about my experiences in art exhibitions. So I like to observe the people who view my art in the art exhibitions. And I always try to see how the people react to the artworks and how they behave in the art exhibition space, because that gives me a lot of very important knowledge about how the people will view my artworks. And it will also help me moving forward how I can reflect that to my own creating in my own art, and then maybe change that to something different, so I can see how differently the people will react to it in the art exhibitions. And so one of the very prevalent things was that people use phones in the art exhibitions. This was actually funny, because I was making this presentation, and then I was looking at some photos, and in many of them, the people were using their phones when I have been photographing them from the side. And so I realized that the phones are used a lot in the art exhibitions. People might be using them as a tool to view the art in the art exhibitions. You can see the lady on the left is photographing the artwork, and some people might share them in social medias, and some might just use Google to learn something about the artists or the art itself. So there are many uses for phones in art exhibitions. And rather than being the old way and telling people to put the phones away to experience the arts, I decided, but if I encourage them to use the phone in the art exhibitions, to enhance their experience in learning about the artworks. So I came up with the idea of using QR codes in the art exhibitions. So in some of my art exhibitions, there are QR codes. You can actually use your phone now and take a photo of it and use the link to see what it has inside it. But I use these QR codes in my art exhibitions to give people easy access to find more information about the artworks. So this QR code will take you into my website, which has some articles and videos about how the artworks are being made. And usually people get very interested in how they are being made. So this was a nice idea to bridge the gap between the interested people and bringing them to my social medias. So this way I got a lot more activity in my social medias through art exhibitions, when I made it easier for people to see my internet presence. And that has been, people have been very interested about it. I have got a lot of positive reviews about the QR code thing because it has been something interactive for people to do in the art exhibitions in other than just looking at the artworks. So they can do something in the art exhibition, which is something people have loved about. And even older people use these QR codes, which is quite interesting to see. And then we can go to the social media showcase, which is just showing my social media to you. And what else I have here? And this is my website. You can see very simple portfolio and not much other text, since I want people to focus on the artworks themselves rather than having distractions for it. But also it has the same page as the QR code brought you to, which is this art process site, which has a lot of information about creating the artworks. For example, there is a blog post about the theories behind making an origami artwork like that. So it can be interesting read for someone. I have been trying to make different kinds of content for my artworks. One of them was this blog post kind of thing, but this is quite old-fashioned compared to video content. So I'm trying to move forward with more videos, but it has some appeal to some people. And then, of course, I show my exhibitions. I have to update this one because it's long due date for the next exhibitions to show up there. And there are the past exhibitions. You can also click the links and go see if they're still available. And then there, of course, there is the press, which there are a lot of news articles about my artworks. So this has been a huge boost for my social media presence when I've got a lot of news, into a lot of news. So they have been quite helpful in that matter. And then, of course, there is the biography, a short one. And that's pretty much about the website. And then I have my Reddit here, which is one of the platforms I use to show my art. And it has gotten a lot of views for people. So there are like 6.8 million views for one post. So they can generate a lot of activity if they get very viral. And these have been the cases where the news articles have picked them up because they have been so viral, and it's a cycle that starts to continue like a snowball effect. So when you get something viral, then more people will pick it up and share it around, and it's very explosive. So you can get thousands of comments and requests and collaborations and everything just from one post when you make it pop out. And then there is my YouTube. There are some few videos, but you can see the time lapses are like 1.5 hours long. The time lapse that is sped like 10 times faster than real time. So they take a lot of effort to make those kind of videos. So I might want to move back to these simpler, shorter videos that show a few bits and pieces from the creation process. But those were very necessary because people were thinking that I wasn't folding them from a square piece of paper. So I had to make time lapse to prove them that they are actually made from a square piece of paper. So that has got a lot of views too. And that's something the cross posting has done to me. So I have in the Reddit post when I had this here, I posted a link to the YouTube video so people could see and that it's made from a square piece of paper. So it got a lot of views from that. So it's very important to cross post your content around. And then of course there is my Instagram. And then there is the content is mostly the same. There are some different, but I think this is like a different brand for my other kind of origami work, which is not necessarily the art, but the other stuff that I teach in conventions and in workshops for people to learn origami. That is more easy to learn than these more complicated artworks. And there are posts about the mostly artworks. This is my Instagram is mostly like a portfolio rather than being something that shows my process of creating the art or being an artist. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the presentation. And we are a little bit over time too. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask around.